All right, here we are back for another incredible session with Jim Fruchterman. I am so excited to be talking about should I be using AI for this? I'm really excited about this session. Can you let us know in the chat that you are here, that you are equally as excited as me for this session? Jim is a renowned social entrepreneur, MacArthur Fellow, and Caltech Distinguished alumni. He is dedicated to applying technology to benefit 90% of humanity, often overlooked by for profit tech companies. Okay, are we giving snaps for that? After co founding two successful AI machine learning companies in Silicon Valley, Jim founded Benen Tech, pioneering accessible technology for people with disabilities, including Bookshare, now the world's largest library for people who are blind or dyslexic. Truly incredible. He was part of the original drafting team for the UN's Treaty of Marrakesh, enabling greater access to published works for people with print disabilities. In 2018, Jim launched Tech Matters, building tools like Acello, crisis helpline platform, Terrasso, sustainability software, and leading the Better Deal for Data movement. His first book, Technology for Good, coming out 2025, highlights how nonprofit leaders use software and data to solve major global challenges. Jim, I'm hoping I did not mess up too many pronunciations there, but I'm so just blown away by the work that you do. And we just want you to take it away and tell us, should I be using AI for this? Please join me in welcoming Jim. Give him a really warm welcome, and I will hand it over to you.
Hey,
I
thanks
love
a lot, Mallory. Glad to be here and glad to be talking about one of my favorite topics, which is AI. I've been doing AI a long time. I think it's now over 40 years because that's where I started my career in Silicon Valley. And while I love AI, one of the top questions I end up answering quite often is, should I be using AI for this? And the answer is often, let's talk, because it's not always obvious. AI is just the latest of sort of tech innovations that have been going on steadily over decades. And this is a particularly big leap, but it's still tech. And that means there are humans still involved. We have to be thinking about the interaction between the technology and the humans. So let me get my slide deck going here. I'm looking forward to going through this. And this talk is based on something I wrote up last year, and it's actually aged pretty well considering how fast AI has advanced. By the same title, should I be using AI for this? And so we're currently at peak hype cycle, right? That means everyone is talking about it, both in the tech sector, but also in society in general, and the nonprofit sector. And of course, what we're trying to figure out is, what can we actually use this for to better serve communities? Because that's what we're here for. And if it turns out that something other than AI is the right tech to use, let's start there rather than leaping immediately to the leading edge. So I tend to divide the world into sort of admin AI and program AI. Admin AI is mostly about helping your team, just like you would be using a spell checker, which until recently was a pretty advanced piece of AI, to actually write better documents, the kind of inward focusing things. Program AI is when we're talking about your core mission, the programs that you're delivering. And now, when we're talking about inflicting AI on the communities that we serve, we now have a higher ethical sort of standard to meet to make sure that when we're applying AI, it's actually honoring the promises and sort of the ethical behavior that we've committed to the communities that we serve. And so, as part of this question, I actually came up with the nonprofit AI treasure map. And there's a lot here, and I'm not going to wade through the entire treasure map with you, but I'm going to kind of give you an overview and also be sure to look up, should I be using AI for this, or the nonprofit AI treasure map if you want to dig into this more. And so, your nonprofit, is sort of saying, gee, should we be using AI? And the first thing is, on the team member side, the answer is probably yes, right? People who do a lot of writing, especially fundraisers, development staff, they're using AI to write better grant proposals, to squeeze that 500-word answer into the 250-word box that they're having to do. Um, you know, People often come up with better ideas for their communications, for their blog posts, for their white papers using these kind of tools. And of course, there are specific, vertical specific tools in fundraising, in software, where there's an AI product that's actually tuned for what you need. And so the great thing about products is that you can test them, right? You can actually dive in there. You can talk to your friends. Is it working for you? What are the pros and cons? My biggest piece of advice is: will you have someone looking at all the outputs from the AI for quality control? Because the number of people who've been badly stung by having the AI put something out that they passed off as their own, it turned out to be problematic, wrong, making up stuff. Uh, the press is full of those stories every day. So you don't want to be there unless you don't care. But I think that most people care. And the other thing is that if it doesn't work that well for you now, just wait 6 months, wait a year. The technology is moving really fast. And it's likely to be getting better. And this wait for a product, that's kind of a central piece of my advice. I'll be coming back to that. Now, in the programs and operations zone, here, people are failing 90+% of the time. And these are people who know what they're doing. They often have tech teams. So when you're actually talking about using AI in programs, you actually need to be thinking, do we have data? If not, you're going to have a hard time making a really sort of significant contribution to your program. Do you have an actual plausible use case? One of the worst things to go around is looking, with your AI hammer for nails. You should be thinking about what are the most important problems that we have, and if AI can help solve that, then that's worth digging into. I still think you should be looking for an AI product. Um, we often end up working with fields where 20 or 40 nonprofits come together and have a very similar use case and have us as a tech partner actually help build them a shared open source solution. And the other thing is that if you're going to be building a custom solution, you have to be prepared to keep it going for 3 to 5 years, which is expensive, right? Tech stuff takes a lot of time. And we'll also talk about the reputational hit if you apply AI and it goes badly. So this is kind of my kind of way to navigate this. It's kind of a flow chart that takes you through the different parts of this, and then allows you to dig into, gee, is this likely to work? So designing with AI, there's a famous group, the AI snake oil guys, who write about this as people who love AI, but also think that the hype is often oversold. They called it AI is normal technology. All the tech design rules apply. People are going to be using this technology, and if they hate it, they're not going to use it, and that doesn't solve a problem. So you need to be zeroing in on what the actual problem is that they have, that the technology is actually going to help them. Ideas like human-centered design, let's put it in front of some test users and see if it works, and see if they like it, and then find out what we're doing right, do more of that, find out what we're doing not so well, do less of that. And the last thing I want to point out is a concept that's really well known in the business field, which is total cost of ownership. People often don't actually think about what technology actually costs when you include all of the costs, right? So people tend to focus on licensing costs. And I'm an open source developer. We have no licensing cost. The software is free. But actually, it's expensive. All technology is expensive because you have to train people, you have to do design, you have to fix the errors that it has. And it turns out that applying a new piece of technology takes a lot of your staff time. It's likely that that staff time is the biggest cost of any tech innovation. And that is especially true if you're trying to deploy it in your programs. So the first thing is, if you work in the social sector, the odds that the generalized AI tools represent the community that you serve are pretty low. I mean, I tend to think of the chatbots that we're training as being mainly trained on white middle class and upper class sort of content in English, right? And so This biased data set often means that when you ask the AI to answer a question or what's the best course of action, it may be replicating a bias that exists in the data. And of course, in the case of these gigantic data sets, biases that exist in society, right? So if you ask an AI to show you a picture of a judge, it's going to show you a white male 95% of the time, even though there's a whole bunch of judges of color and a whole bunch of female judges. But when you're trained on the internet, that's who that's who shows up, and the AI doesn't know any better. But this bias issue just shows up in all sorts of areas, and many of the evils the nonprofit sector is there to fix is to overcome biases that exist in society. And the AI is just channeling those. So you've got to be fully aware of this, lest you be applying something that does that. I'm going to give some examples of where this went wrong. So the other thing is, we're the social sector, and we have standards. We have ethical goals. We want to do the right thing. And I come from Silicon Valley, and doing the right thing by people is not always what is kept in mind. The whole model of surveillance capitalism is to strip mine you and your community of data and then figure out how to make money off of that, which often means using money against you. So if you feed a whole bunch of data about poor people to the fintech industry, they're going to figure out how to make them poorer by extracting more money from them. If you're in the agriculture sector, farmers are getting very worried about cooperating with data collection because they figure out that when they share data with someone, they get screwed, right? Some people collect data and charge them more for the fertilizer, their inputs. They collect data and they pay them less for their crop, for their outputs. And John Deere owns the map of their farm. And so, this sort of issue of this one-sided thing where it's just one more thing that tends to concentrate wealth and increase inequality. The nonprofit sector wants a better deal. So this is something I'm working on the side. It's called the Better Deal for Data, bd4d.org. And we're hoping to launch it by the end of the year. And it has some simple principles, like it's the community members' data. It's not the data of the nonprofit sector. We're not going to sell it. We're going to use it primarily to benefit you and your community, not benefit us. If we do research, we'll remove your personal information. If we publish the research, it'll be open access, so you get a free copy of it. And anyone who touches your data has to commit to these things and to keep your confidential data confidential. So simple principles, but we need some kind of standard like this. And I think that many nonprofits are just waiting for just what is the right thing, just like we have standards for child safeguarding. And everyone in the field that works with children knows what those principles are. We need data safeguarding. We need these kind of commitments. And if we do that, then we're going to have the ability to use that data for AI for ethical purposes. So, biggest issue here is AI is wrong. It's always going to get some things wrong, and it doesn't know when it's wrong. And it used to be that, the old style of AI was predictive. Did I recognize what you said? Did I recognize this sign and translate it correctly? And we could measure whether that was successful by saying, did it get it right? Generative AI is about making stuff up, and it's tuned to be super convincing. So, but the thing is that even though it can fake empathy, it has no empathy, and it's dumb as a brick. It simulates being smart. It sounds like it's smarter than you, but when it's 100% wrong, it's going to sell that so hard that you actually believe it. And so the joke in the AI field is they're called stochastic parrots. They're really good at saying things, but they have no idea what they're saying. And if that's the case, then you have to be prepared for when it's going to get it wrong, because telling a poor person to do something that's going to make them a lot poorer is a bad idea if your mission is to help them get out of poverty. So I spend a lot of my time, even though I'm a huge fan of AI, talking nonprofits out of doing this. Restaurants, golf courses, dental offices, they don't develop software for really good reasons. Developing software takes actual people who know about software, who know about data. And even though the sales pitch is, oh, you don't need any of those things, if you don't know what you're doing, AI is just going to get you in deep trouble. Now, 1% of nonprofits have tech teams, have data teams that are ready to kind of do this. That number is growing because more and more nonprofits are realizing that if they want to make impact at scale, they've got to do this thing. But but even then, even people who know what they're doing, it usually doesn't work. And I just say it's probably not your fault. I mean, I'm encouraging people to be bold, especially those who have tech and data teams. But just knowing that it's not going to just be this easy road. It's tech. It's hard. You fail, you learn, you get better. So AIs make mistakes. That means that you have to plan to mitigate the damage caused by errors. And so one of the biggest problems that AI does is it takes people who don't know what they're doing and gets them into dangerous territory really fast. Because if you don't know what you're doing, you don't recognize that the AI is making a mistake, right? And so, if a farmer says, "What's this thing eating my crop?" and the AI tells them to treat it with a certain kind of fungicide, and they spend their life savings on that, and it turns out that it was wrong, you know, you have just put someone into losing their farm. You don't want to do that. So, the people who work in this field, they work a lot to try to make sure that the AI doesn't make up things, that there are guardrails against making mistakes, often by showing the AI examples of how to do it right. I'm going to come back to that. But you just have to build this in. Basically, AI is really good at helping smart people be smarter or skilled people be more skilled. And so one of the top things that I advise organizations, if they don't have a habit of using data, if they don't really understand their programmatic data, that's like the first thing you'll want to do so that you can become better at using AI, is become better at data, and then you're going to be a thoughtful consumer of AI and be able to start saying, what do we do about the cost of errors? So let's talk about this issue. And these stories are somewhat famous in the field, but I run into people all the time who haven't heard them. So one of the best examples of bad uses of generative AI was the National Eating Disorders Association. And during the pandemic, eating disorders went through the roof. People were stuck at home. Eating was one of the things you could do. So if you had a leaning towards these kinds of disabilities or disorders, it got worse. And so the needed helpline, which is a combination of staff and volunteers, were really being worked very hard. Matter of fact, they were worked so hard that as the pandemic sort of like was tailing into whatever, sort of steady state is, they started to unionize. And the board of NIDA and the management had this bright idea. Let's lay off all the humans and replace them with Tessa, the AI chatbot. And so Tessa, the humans were laid off. Tessa was put on. And within a few days, some activists said, hey, let me try out Tessa, see how good she is at advising me on my weight disorder. Or maybe I'm a survivor of weight disorder, and instantly they were able to get it quickly to start telling them to count calories. All the thing that is the exact opposite of what you want to tell someone with an eating disorder. And in retrospect, maybe that's not so surprising. If you've trained a chatbot on the average of the internet, it might just give you terrible advice about what to do about your eating disorder instead of what's actually clinically been proven to actually work. And so think about the outcome here. They had to shut off Tessa, they had fired their staff, and now people with eating disorders don't have any helpline that can help them. And the organization took quite a reputational hit for going down this road in a way that just didn't serve their population. And this is kind of the challenge, is that these things are inflicting the outcomes of bad AI on the people who are seeking help. The people most in need are getting bad advice. And I'm going to use the Stanford study of cheating detectors. There are a bunch of products out there that says, oh, we'll detect someone using AI to write something. They're full of it. They have no idea. They actually ran a test and they showed that they use the test of English as a foreign language. So these are essays written by people who are not native English speakers who are trying to pass a test about their English capacity. A whole bunch of these sort of cheating detectors classified the majority of the human authored essays as being created by AI. This is worthless. And these people are being labeled cheaters by a brain dead algorithm. Again, these examples are happening all over the place. So you have to think about what could go wrong. And that means keeping people in the loop to make sure that they're actually doing it. So what's the best ways to do AI well? Look for drudgery. Look for something that people really don't like doing, that's really repetitive. AI, that could be a pretty good use. I'll give you an example from one of our products is building software for crisis response helplines. And crisis response helplines are, basically like 911 for kids around the world or suicide prevention. And what do? We help the counselors with data entry. We will write up in an ethical, confidential way, a summary of that hour-long text conversation so they don't have to. So that makes those people more effective and powerful, saves them 10 minutes. That's 10 minutes they can spend with a human in need. And yet the humans are in the loop because they're actually reviewing this, and you're constraining the domain, right? If I'm doing a summary of a text chat, I have a harder time making something up. So I'm going to give you two quick examples of Gen AI development in the nonprofit sector that are great. So I have to all these cautionary tales. I have to actually tell you, no, there's some, but Digital Green spun out of Microsoft Research 10 or 15 years ago in India. They have a fabulous thing. They had 30 people working on this for several years, so not for the faint of heart. But of course, something that took 30 people 3 years ago now can be done with 3 people, and soon will be able to be done. But these are technical people. But what they did is they trained the AI on a whole bunch of their videos. They did 10,000 videos of ag advice. And the goal is you ask it in your native language, and it brings you a video that answers your question with a farmer demonstrating it, speaking your language on a farm that looks like yours. And it works great. What did they do first? Before they launched it directly to farmers, they brought it to agriculture extension agents and had them test it for quite a while to make sure. And then they fixed all those mistakes. And now it's pretty good. And what if it gets something wrong? It shows you a video that clearly isn't the right answer. But it's a right answer, just not for your question. But you look at it and say, oh, this is about tomatoes and not rice. And then you go and ask it for a different thing. And then IDR Answers by Apurva AI, also an Indian group. A lot of really exciting things are happening in the global South. Indian Development Review is kind of like the Stanford Social Innovation Review or the Harvard Business Review of India. Basically, they trained a chatbot only on the articles published in the Indian Development Review. And so turns out that really works great. It says, here's what the best articles say, here's where they agree, here's where they disagree. You can actually read the articles. It's really well done. Both of these are based on the idea that we have a lot of data, whether it's videos or a journal, and we're taking a chatbot and we're saying, hey, chatbot, when you answer the questions, I want you to draw the answers from these 3,000 articles or these 10,000 videos. And that is a great way to apply. This is going to get easier and easier in the coming year. So watch for this and build up your data and build up your sort of knowledge base so that could be the basis of getting the AI to do something that's more right than wrong. So as we get ready to wrap up, I'm going to come back to the AI treasure map. And basically, I have kind of guided you through a lot of the key things that you need to think about as you follow this. Number one advice, wait for a product. You can talk to your friends, you can talk to other customers and say, is this working for me? And they will actually share with you their early experience. And if a peer or 3 have found a certain product to be really successful in fundraising or in mental health or whatever it is, then you can actually use that. I'm also going to be doing a lounge right after this. So I'm looking forward to being able to answer your questions in that lounge and doing a lot of one-on-one consulting, hopefully with a group of you. So I'm really excited about doing that and looking forward to that part of the session.
Jim, thank you so much for all of that wisdom and knowledge. Oh, okay. I thought they were maybe taking me off as fast as they put me on. Thank you so much for all of that wisdom and knowledge, and just orienting everybody to sort of how they think through what's available, but doesn't necessarily mean we should use it. What is informing the types of results that we're getting? Just so much in here, and I'm so excited that folks, you can give us some feedback on the session, which I know we'd appreciate and Jim would appreciate. So you can use the QR code that's up on the stage, and then you can also continue to join Jim for his lounge session. So if you want to navigate over to the lounge, you'll be able to connect with him there as well. It's an extended Q&A for attendees, and this is your chance to really ask questions about tech for good. From one of the leading practitioners and the author of the recent book, Technology for Good: How Nonprofit Leaders Are Using Software and Data to Solve Our Most Pressing Social Problems. And Jim loves brainstorming about technology solutions for the people working on the front lines of social change. So this is an incredible opportunity. Head on over to the AI Tech Lounge right now. And if you need help navigating, I think I have a little pop up here again to show you that in more detail. All you do is from the reception area, you'll see lounge in the top navigation, select lounge from the table with the lounge title and join. Feel free to turn your camera and mic on to participate, or you can leave it off, watch, engage in the chat, whatever you need. But this is a really, really incredible opportunity to be able to connect more deeply with Jim. And then I want to tell you what is up, what is happening. So we have a number of amazing sessions coming up on the Amplify stage. Beth Cantor is going to be talking about work smarter, not just faster with AI, using AI to augment our human brains. On the innovation stage with me, we are talking about culture first, unlocking AI's potential through leadership, not just tools, with an incredible lineup. Sean Olds will be facilitating the panel. Tim Lockey, Courtney Bergler, and Dr. Kevin Sansbury will be joining. All of the sessions that are coming up next all get CFRE credit. And then on the impact stage, making the ask to grant makers to support AI implementation with Sarah DeTroya and Layla Brenner. Okay, incredible. I don't know how you're going to pick, but that's on you, not me, since I'm on the innovation stage. But so many amazing things coming up, and that is not all, because the Spark stage is open. So as I mentioned last time, if you were with me, the Spark stage is officially open, powered by our friends at Play. These quick, high impact sessions are designed to ignite your ideas and give you practical ways to put AI into action right away. So coming up, we have sessions on your secret AI superpower, quick tricks to save hours, AI policy in 10 minutes, the essential guardrails. I love that one. The prompt playbook. I see what they did there. Wizardry, shortcuts, and special sauce, and AI speed dating, life-changing AI tools in 10 minutes. And I think that my AI tool actually might be getting a little sneak peek preview in there, which is so exciting. So make sure to check the agenda, bookmark your favorite Spark sessions, and pop over to get inspired. Okay, and now get ready to join the next session. So go to that schedule in the upper right-hand corner and you'll see all the sessions coming up. You can join any sessions that are live. That's all for this session. There is so much more goodness coming your way. So check out the schedule, and I'll be back here on the innovation stage. Enjoy the summit.